This is Steve Jewin from MMAmania.com, and I want to let you know in advance that the audio for this David Branch interview starts abruptly about halfway in due to some audio technical issues that were present early in the call, so that part of the interview was dropped. However, you can check out the rest of this interview here in the audio form and on MMAmania.com with transcripted highlights of the comments from the World Series of Fighting middleweight champion and possibly soon light heavyweight champion. He's promoting a show called Unstoppable, which airs July 11th on NBC Sports. Check your local listings. Without further ado, here is the David Branch interview.
185-pound division, and I want to leave my mark at the 205-pound division. You know, I just got to keep going out there and getting it done. The only way to get it done is by doing this, because I know me doing this, a lot of guys aren't doing this. A lot of guys don't just come to the gym by themselves without coaches and push themselves. You know, I know what it takes. I know what I have to do.
What's that beep that keeps going off?
That's the bell. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. No problem. Now, you talk about it being like jail, and you have to have that mentality to be a champion, but do you ever let yourself out of jail, so to speak? Like, do you ever take a time where you can just sit back and reflect on your accomplishments and enjoy it a little bit?
I do, but it's very short-lived because it's not enough, you know. I'm already a world champion and I'm still hungry. It's not enough. You know, I want to own the whole store. I want everything, you know. I want everything that this game has to offer. All the good stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. So I got to keep working. I can't sit down. I got to eat this soup with a fork. The moment that I start to get full and I'm no longer hungry is the day that I'm going to walk away from this game. So I can't sit back and sort of say jerk myself off. I still got a lot of work to do.
Well, that's fine. That's fair. I think that's a good attitude to have about it. But at that point, when you do step away, I'm sure you're still going to have a love and passion for the sport. Will you be training future champions at that point?
Definitely. I'd like to pass my knowledge off because I think that even me being at the age of 33, I think that I do represent next generation of fighters. I think I do represent what fighters will look like in another 10 years and another 5 years. You know, guys who are a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, who have professional boxing skills, who wrestle like Division I collegiate wrestlers. You know, who have a wide understanding of the game. You know, I think that you're going to start to see more well-rounded guys like that instead of like just guys that just come in and do everything but aren't really a specialist at anything. You're going to see more guys that specialize in everything. Right. And I want to represent that era of guys.
Now, you did mention being 33, and you're young and strong at 33, so it's not an age factor at all, but at the same time, 30s is usually when fighters either peak or slightly start to go downhill at that point. So obviously you're peaking right now, but if you keep winning and nothing goes wrong, how many more years do you want to do it before you just retire on your own?
I'm thinking 37 to 38. I'll be able to walk away from the game happy. I know that I have a checklist, and I have a lot more checks to put on the list, you know. I got a lot more stuff to do. And once I get those things done, I can walk away from this game happy.
Now, would that checklist involve going back to UFC?
You know, right now the checklist involves just me being the best champion ever in the history of World Series of Fighting right now. You know, in the future, if something else comes along, I want to fight, obviously, the best fighters in the world. With that being said, I can only focus on what I have going on right now. I just re-signed with World Series of Fighting, so I don't want to start talking about different organizations.
That's fair.
But I can just let you know personally, okay? And you can take it how you want it, but I can just let you know personally that I would like to fight the best in the world and beat the best in the world, so that when I'm an old fart and I sit down on my porch and I sit and think about what I did, I know that I fought everybody, the best of the best in their prime.
You'll take those opportunities any way they come, but you're loyal to World Series Fighting. You just mentioned renewing with them. We got a press release about that not long ago. So it seems like you're dedicated to them bringing in the best fighters in the world to fight you.
Right.
And I'm sure they will continue to do that. You've gotten good competition already. And Yushin Okami was one of the ones that impressed me the most because being somebody that's followed the sport for a long time, I knew his reputation as a guy who makes good fighters look bad. And instead, he made you look better because he had such a big name and you came in there and just took his head off in the 4th round.
Right. I mean, a lot of things like people don't understand about that fight is that when I fought Yushin Okami, I had a torn bicep tendon, and I don't know whether I got it during training or whatever happened, but during the fight, the 1st round, my tendon completely detached from the bone.
Ow.
And my right arm, I got surgery on it afterwards to reattach it to the connection point. But I had no bicep tendon in that fight. So all my takedowns and everything as far as grappling was out the window. So I had to make an adjustment to go straight to striking, and, it bothered me a little bit because they were saying that he was the better grappler. And I honestly think that I was gonna embarrass him in grappling, because I know that I'm much more technical than him. And I wanted to show the world that I can take him down and I can submit him, I can put him in, or I can just keep him in bad positions time round after round after round. I wanted to do what he's done to guys over the years. I wanted to beat him at his own game, but because, I suffered a torn bicep tendon, I had to switch the game. And once I started to find my mark and I knew that I had a beat on him and he just couldn't get off, in the 4th round, that's when I just kicked it up and I went back to my corner before I was going out in the 4th round. And my boxing coach said, he was just like, stop playing around with this guy. Just knock this guy out now.
To me, it almost seems like you took the Uriah Faber mentality into that fight where it's like, you know what? Maybe I have something torn or broken, but I still got other parts of my body that are weapons. So it doesn't matter if I lose a limb in the fight. I'm just going to keep on going.
Right. I mean, like, I knew that I could throw a straight punch with my right hand. And I knew that my jab, my left hand is like, the one weapon in striking that I utilize the most. And I just mixed everything up with punches, kicks, and, taking takedowns and stuff like that just to open them up. And because he was a left-handed guy, I knew that the right hand was going to land eventually. All I had to do was just keep doing everything right. I didn't necessarily look to knock him out because when I hit him with the right hand, it actually wasn't a right hand that I wanted to, it wasn't the hardest right hand I ever threw. You can put it like that. It was just very well placed. And everything I kept doing at the right time, and I was just at the right place, and then it just happened.
It did. It did just happen. 3:39 of the 4th round, and it was one of many impressive finishes we've seen from you. The Von Flue choke, the Darce choke, the knockout. It's everything coming your way when you get in there for a fight. And like I said before, it's been a long time since it hasn't gone your way. So do you worry about that at all? That at some point, obviously you've said before, you eat small forks and you stay hungry. But do you worry that at some point you're going to run into something completely unexpected since it's been so long since you've lost?
I always do. I'm always afraid of that. I'm always afraid of losing and people saying certain things, and I'm always afraid of, going out there and losing in front of my friends and my family and people who watch and letting myself down and, just getting that roadblock where I have to go back to the drum board. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to lose. So when I train hard. I train so hard. And I always train with the memory of losing, of not having my hand raised, and it makes me even more angry. It makes me want to dig even deeper into the gym and work even harder, and I think that's one of the things that keeps me on top, and after so many years of me training like this, I realized that the guy that I fear the most is the guy that I've actually become. I've become the guy that I train for the most, that I'm so worried about, the guy who has excellent wrestling, the guy who has very, very good striking, the guy who has very, very good jiu-jitsu, the guy who doesn't get tired, the guy who has very good cage wrestling, very strong, very fast, very flexible. Anybody, if you describe a guy like that, that sounds like a nightmare for anybody in any division. And the more and more I train, the more and more I've become this person that I feared the most, so I'm becoming this boogeyman that I've created in my head.
So you're in the situation, to sum it up then, that the only person who can beat you is you.
The only person that can beat me is me at this point in the game. When I got into the UFC, I was a completely different fighter. When I was fighting in Bellator, I was a completely different fighter. I was a young fighter, not so mature, not so well-rounded, not so confident in all of my abilities and myself. Now it's a completely different person.
I think your record in World Series of Fighting shows that to be the case. So let me just say in closing, I hope that Teddy Holder fight gets announced soon. I want to see it before the end of the year, hopefully September like we've talked about. But it's time to finish out that light heavyweight tournament. maybe get another belt around your waist. I know you believe in that, and I want to believe in it too, but anything can happen in a fight, so I won't say it's a certainty, but you're sure training like you want it to be.
Definitely, man. And I will have it. I will have it because I see it. And it's not going to go any other way, because when I get in there, I want people to say, God damn, like, this guy didn't stand a chance. He didn't stand a chance. That's how I want all my fights to be. And it doesn't matter whether it's that I'm in the World Series of Fighting now. It would be like this if I was in any organization. And I just want to say that for the record because, I always hear people say, oh, not bad for a guy in World Series of Fighting. He would be this tier guy kind of fighter if he was in this organization, or he would be a B level, or he'd be in this level, or he'd be a top 10 or maybe a top 15 if he was here. Just for the record, anywhere that I would go right now, I would be beating the hell out of guys because my mentality is completely different. It doesn't matter where you put me right now. And now I'm in the World Series of Fighting, so this is where it's happening. This is where people are getting to see it. If I was anywhere else, it would be the same thing.
I tell people the same thing about fighters like Justin Gaethje. I say, look at the way he fights, look at the reckless abandon with which he goes after people. He'll take a punch to get a punch, and he's got a hell of a chin, and he's got an amazing set of skills, and he's so quick that if you put the champion of World Series Fighting a lightweight in any other organization, I feel like Justin Gaethje could be a champion anywhere he goes.
Yeah, he's gonna brutalize people the same way that you see him do it in the cage in WSOF. It's the same cage, it's the same canvas, it's the same gloves. It's just different guys. It isn't, there's no magic in this game. People don't understand that. And as a fighter, you have to realize that yourself. You can't say because you're in a smaller promotion and you're an up and coming fighter that, because I'm fighting these guys, they're not on the level of these guys. No, they're human. They're men just like these other guys. They don't want to lose. They have the same fears. They have the same strengths. You're just in that organization, so you got to make it happen. So anywhere you go, if you keep the same mentality, you'll have the same results.
Right. And once
if you go somewhere else and you start trumping it up in your own head and you say, oh man, now I'm here and I don't know what's going on. These guys are so much better. And you just tricked yourself, Now you lost already.
And when the cage door shuts, the letters on the cage don't matter anyway. It's just you and the man you're across from. That's all there is to it.
They don't matter. I think with my approach to the game, I'm not a fighter that uses reckless abandonment. I'm very strategical, very economical with my attack, and I'm very surgical with the way that I place my offense. And when anybody hurt, I've already demonstrated over the years that I'm a good finisher, so.
Well, I think that's why the appropriate name for the show you're going to be featured on July 11th is Unstoppable, because that's how you fight. You're precise, you're economical, and you can't be stopped.
That's right.
Well, I know we're plugging that show on July 11th on NBC Sports, 3 p.m. Eastern, I believe, 2 p.m. Central. But as I said, check your local listings, because if I'm wrong about that, I want to make sure everybody sets a record for it or watches it live one way or the other. But as far as other things to plug, I know you'd like to get out some sponsorships and social media links and things like that as well. So please go ahead.
Just follow me on Twitter at David C. Branch MMA. And I'd like to thank Team Azad. Azad watches New York City. I'd like to thank Fusion Paper. I'd like to thank Auto Shopper. I'd like to thank Virtue Stream. I'd like to thank Inner Skin, Serene Dreams, like so many other sponsors. I'd like to thank the Henzo Gracie team, all my teammates, Henzo Gracie Academy, New York City. I'd like to thank the Edge, all my coaches, all my partners. And then that's about it. My boxing coach, Saddam Ali Boxing Gym, Leonard Wilson, David Esposito, Jerry Rinaldi, and Jamal Patterson. Jason Strout for being my longtime kickboxing coach, and we're gonna keep going.
We're going to be seeing lots more from you at middleweight and light heavyweight coming up in the World Series of Fighting, and we're looking forward to that announcement of the Teddy Holder fight. So we'll be staying tuned on that, and we'll be staying tuned for Unstoppable on July 11th. David, thank you so much for the time. It's a holiday weekend, but I know you're training hard even though it's a holiday, but try to enjoy it a little bit.
You got it, man.
All right. Take care. We'll talk to you again later.